Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this recap video we're going to review the metals. Now we're going to kick this off with gold and silver, which are two buys that I've been focusing on as we are transitioning from the October weakness that I was looking at in the market into the beginning of the year, where dollar and gold weren't tracking together and it was easier to be long gold and long dollar, both of which we continue to be as we roll into February. And we're waiting for just another pullback entry. You can see the last entry, actually the last two in the little circles that I've got highlighted here, and these are just trend following buys that we trigger as the market falls back into the wave and gives us an opportunity to get long based upon a trend that I feel is still up, and based upon predominantly green grab candles that tell me that we've got an uptrend that is tradable. So we get a correction, that's a buying opportunity. So we're just looking for basically the third trend following buy, and where I'm specifically focused on this is going to be as close to 1300 even as possible. Ideally, that move to 1300 comes on about a 14 to 19 point sell-off. So that's how specific I get, not only about the zones, I want something as close to the 1300 major psychological level, but I also want to know that as we're reaching that level, we are looking at what I would call an exhaustive move to the downside. Meaning, let's find a move to the downside that has pushed the upper end of price movement range. And if there's a secret weapon or a not so secret weapon that I use, it's this. It's the auto chartist volatility gauge. And so you can see where I'm getting this 14 point minimum expectation. It's the upper end of daily price movement range with a 68% probability. So 68% of the time we move 14 points, so we have a 14 point range. That's going to be exhaustive on both ends of the range. So I'm looking for a buy on gold. Follow the green grab candles. Now silver's another one. Silver's a great market that oftentimes will move a lot like gold. We've already been long silver once in a very similar way to gold, and we're doing this again. Now SLV, by the way, gang, would be a valid entry, as would GLD, by the way, for gold. I still want to build these trades on the futures contracts, but if you want to use the metals in lieu of the futures contract, the metals ETF in lieu of the futures contract, that's fine, but please build the trade on the futures side and then essentially convert that to the ETF side. So basically what you'd be doing is something like this. Put the front month futures on one side and then GLD, the ETF, on the other. There's a couple disadvantages to trading ETF, namely it's not a 24-hour market. It's the limited 9:30 to 4, unlike gold futures. But there's an advantage. I think your options chain on GLD is much more liquid and will give you a whole lot more choice for expiration across multiple strike levels. So there's an advantage if you're going to go the options route to favor GLD over GC. On the silver side, it would be SI and then SLV. By the way, there are micro and mini contracts for these. The same way that I would say look at SI, then look at SLV, then look at mini or micro. Same thing. Start with the full size main futures contract. So the pullback we're looking for is as close to 1555. Now, why would I be a little bit more patient, and why would I want a deeper correction into the wave? Take a look at the blue grab candles that we've had not too long ago. That's the way we corrected last time. I'd like to see basically a replay of that. Now copper, I'm going to put copper on our watch list. It has been for a little while in the futures room, and I'm starting to get a little bullish copper. This would be this zone that we're looking at starting at about 2760 all the way down to about 2735. That zone is going to be the first buy, and it's a little aggressive because had this market been traveling higher, let's say we had seen movement like this to the upside, so we moved higher to the upside and then corrected maybe where this 200 simple is and moved higher, that buy would have been a whole lot easier being on the north end of the 200 versus the south end of the 200. So not that that's going to change my mind necessarily about the buy, but this is the first buy zone we're looking at on copper. So keep that in mind. I'm bullish all three metals for different reasons. Copper's my least favorite. Gold is probably my second biggest position, both as a trader and my longer term investments. So you better believe I like those pullbacks on gold and silver. I'll see you in the next update.